Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome to the Retro Wrestling Review Series, Season 9, Episode 4. And in this video, I'm going to be doing my WWE Battleground 2016 review. And this is the last Battleground that I actually have to review, but there is still one more video coming up on this season. So make sure you guys tune in for that. But I'm going to do this, but I have to get this one up first. Please make sure you guys check out all of my retro wrestling review series of all my past wrestling review series, because I got this season up there. I've got all the other seasons, and you can check that out by clicking on the playlist right up there. And now that I've covered that, let me just start talking about the show. This show, actually, ironically enough, I've actually never seen this show. I've seen bits and pieces of it, but I've never actually sat down and watched the full show. I actually wasn't really going through the best time around this time last year, so I really wasn't really doing much of anything. So I really wasn't watching a lot of professional wrestling. I won't really get too much into detail because this isn't the time or the video to do so. So when I'm actually going to be sitting down and watching the show, from beginning to finish for the first time. So that's pretty damn exciting. So let me just start talking about it. Build up. This is actually a pretty interesting build up wise. Normally I talk about the matches first, but I want to make sure I mention this, that this is going to be the. Now you can look at this pay per view one or two ways, but pretty much what had happened is the WWE just did the brand split on the Tuesday before the show, so they had separated the brands and they had begun the brand split. And this pay per view, you can look at it as one or two ways. You can either look at it as the last WWE pay per view, before, post pre-brand split. That's the word I was looking for. But you could look at it as the last WWE pay per view pre-brand split, since the other than like a Big Four pay per view. But this was the last pay per view to really pre-brand split. All the superstars were going to be finally able to come on this show, which I think is pretty damn interesting. Or you could look at it as the first pay-per-view of the brand split, since this pay-per-view took place after the brand split. The way I look at it is, since this pay-per-view was already announced ahead of time, a lot of feuds were being blown off and stuff. A lot of people were going in different directions. I look at it as the last pay-per-view pre-brand split. That's just the way I like to look at it. But that definitely made this pay-per-view pretty interesting, because this was going to be the last time you were going to see certain people face off, last time you're going to see certain people split up. So I think that's pretty damn interesting. So let me just start running down the matches on the show, and then I'll start actually reviewing the show itself. We have a pre-show match. We have a total of 9 matches on this show, 8 on the actual show, and then we have 1 on the pre-show. And obviously we have the pre-show match, so that's cool. And then going on to the actual show itself, we have a tag team match, and then we have 2 6-man tag team matches on this show. Very rare that happens, but yeah, there's 2 6-man tag team matches on this show. And then we have a United States Championship match, a singles match on this show. We have a women's match on this show. We have an Intercontinental Championship match on this show. And then we have the main event. It's a WWE Championship match. And that's pretty much the entire card. I will go through it more thoroughly as I go through the show. And now that I've actually covered the show, let me just get right into the review. I'm going to structure my review. I'm going to watch the pre-show first and review that all in one take. And then I'm going to watch the actual show. And after each match or segment, I'll come on here and talk about it in different takes. So let's just hope you guys enjoy this video, and let's just get right into it. Okay, so now on to the pre-show. We had the panel of Renee Young, Booker T, Jerry the King Lawler, and Corey Graves. And on this show, I don't know if it was this show, if it was beforehand, but we would find out that Corey Graves was going to become part of the Raw commentary team, which was kind of cool for him, because he was doing commentary for NXT and he was doing really well at it. So it was really great news to hear. But as for the aftermath for each of these announcers, Renee Young would continue to host the panel for the mainstream WWE pay-per-views. Then she would also be the backstage interviewer for SmackDown. She would, you know, she would also be the host of Talking Smack and the host of Raw Talk. So she got a lot of things out of it. Uh, Booker T would continue to be a part of the panel. He would be the part of the panel for both the Raw and SmackDown pre-shows as well. And then she then eventually the Raw and SmackDown panels went away, so he just did the panels for the mainstream pay-per-views. And then after the Superstar shakeup, he would go on to join Corey Graves and be part of the Raw commentary team. Jerry the King Lawler would pretty much also be a part of the Raw and SmackDown pre-shows. And then after those went away, he's only used really on a part-time basis, which I still kind of, when I hear him talk back then, I do kind of miss hearing him on commentary or whatever. But the last time we saw, but since the Raw and SmackDown pre-shows have gone away, he came out at the Royal Rumble this year and did commentary for the Royal Rumble match. He came out and he hosted the Hall of Fame this year. He also came out and did commentary for a match at WrestleMania 33, and that was the last time we've seen him. So yeah, definitely disappointing that he doesn't do commentary anymore. As for Corey Graves, he would commentate his final NXT show in January, and then he would be the heel commentator for Monday Night Raw and WWE 205 Live. So that's where everybody's gone from the panel. All of them are in pretty decent spots with the company, except Lawler. But Lawler isn't really in a bad spot. He's been there for a while anyway. So, and then we had the commentary team of SmackDown's Mauro Ranallo and Raw's Byron Saxton. And Mauro Ranallo since then, was the play-by-play guy for commentary for SmackDown and the SmackDown exclusive pay-per-views. Eventually he ended his time on SmackDown because there had been rumors that he'd been bullied out of SmackDown, and also his bipolar and depression caught the best of him. So it looked like he was going to be leaving WWE, but then eventually they gave him a different job, and now he's the play-by-play commentator for NXT. So it's good that I can watch Mauro Ranallo on commentary here and not feel that upset about it. As for Byron Saxton, he would become he did commentary on Raw for a while with Corey Graves, and him and Corey Graves were part of the commentary team for Raw and the Raw exclusive pay-per-views. And then after the Superstar shakeup, he was traded to SmackDown, and now he does commentary for SmackDown and the SmackDown exclusive pay-per-views. So they're in pretty decent spots in the company. And now that I've talked about the commentators and stuff, let me announce what the matches are for this show. We have the pre-show match. It's a tag team match between Breezango and the Usos. Then for the main show, we have a tag team match between Sasha Banks and a mystery partner and Charlotte and Dana Brooke. We have the first of two six-man tag team matches. This one is between the Wyatt family and the New Day. We have a United States Championship match between Rusev and Zack Ryder. We have a singles match between Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. We have a women's match between Natalya and Becky Lynch. We have a Intercontinental Championship match between The Miz and Darren Young. We have the second and final six-man tag team match between John Cena, Enzo Amore, and Big Cass versus The Club. And then we have the main event. It's a triple threat match for the WWE Championship between Dean Ambrose, Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins. Now that I've gone through all the matches, if you listen to that card, that sounds like a pretty decent card there. Let me actually go through what the build-up for the matches. The only one they didn't talk about was the build-up between Natalya and Becky Lynch. The reason why that match was happening was because Natalya at Payback and Extreme Rules, tried to go tried to take the women's championship from Charlotte, and she failed twice. And during a tag team match of Money in the Bank between Charlotte and Dana Brooke and Natalya and Becky Lynch, Natalya ended up losing. So then Natalya's team ended up losing. So then Natalya turned heel on Becky Lynch and beat the crap out of her. And Becky Lynch got upset because this is because every time she forms a friendship with somebody, they always turn her back on her. So this led to some brawls together, and this eventually led to the match at Battleground. Not necessarily a bad story. The only problem with this story was that nobody was really digging in Natalya heel turn. Nobody cared about her heel turn. So it didn't really make sense to turn her heel, and they didn't really do enough to really establish a friendship between Becky Lynch and Natalya. So the turn really didn't really feel all that special, so it was weird. But that was the build up for that match. Now I'm going to start talking about the other matches. For the build up between John Cena, Enzo Amore, Big Cass, and the Club. The reason why that match was happening was because the Club, dominated the indie scene for a year. They dominated every promotion they went to. They won all the championships they had gone to, and eventually it was only a matter of time before they would make their way to the WWE, and eventually they did. And the Club would get signed to WWE in January of 2016. However, they don't both all three members did not debut at the same time. AJ Styles debuted at the Royal Rumble of 2016 in the Royal Rumble match, and he had a pretty good showing throughout the first half of the year. And then on an episode of Monday Night Raw, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson made their debut in the WWE by attacking the Usos. And Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson inserted it themselves. They did a backstage reunion of the Club, and it had looked like that the Club were going to reform, and they got involved in the whole feud between AJ Styles and Roman Reigns for the WWE Championship. But AJ Styles had constantly refused their help to help win the title. He wanted to beat Roman Reigns by himself. And after AJ Styles failed on two occasions to take the WWE Championship from Roman Reigns, AJ Styles, entered a new the night after Extreme Rules. The night after Extreme Rules, refused to go join the Club and reform it. So he wanted to do his own thing. So the Gallows and Anderson understood. So then eventually, on the Memorial Day episode of Monday Night Raw, John Cena made his return to the WWE because he had been out due to injury for a while. And John Cena, challenged any member of the new generation to come out and wrestle him, or come out or anyone that wants to take him down is ready to for them to do so. And then who came out? None other than AJ Styles, and this was a huge moment here because this has been a dream match for people for years. John Cena, the face of WWE for over a decade, versus AJ Styles, the face of TNA for over a decade. And AJ Styles pretty much said that the crowd went nuts too. They even chanted for both guys. And AJ Styles welcomed John Cena back to Monday Night Raw. Then Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson came out. They wanted to make a statement, and they were going to take out Cena. And it looked like AJ Styles was going to help Cena fend off Gallows and Anderson. But then AJ Styles ended up turning heel and taking out Cena. And the Club beat the crap out of John Cena. And this led to a match at Money in the Bank between AJ Styles and John Cena, the dream match. And AJ Styles ended up winning that match with help from Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. The Club would constantly brag for weeks about how they beat up John Cena, because for weeks they would lay out Cena and they would constantly brag how nobody was going to help John Cena fend him off until eventually on the 4th of July episode of Monday Night Raw, as the club was beating down Cena, who came out and made the save, none other than Enzo Amore and Big Cass. And Enzo Amore and Big Cass had debuted on the main roster on the Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania 32. And yeah, um, they came out and saved Cena. The reason that they give for doing so is because they knew that they were going to become a target for the club anyway, so they figured why not join the fight before they become a target. So yeah, so this led to the six-man tag team match between the club, John Cena, Enzo Amore, and Big Cass. And the problem is that the club had been a unit, had had been a cohesive unit for over a year since they've wrestled, since they've teamed up together before. John Cena, Enzo Amore, and Big Cass were not, and they did a good job playing that up when doing an eight-man. When doing like a big multi-man tag match when Enzo Amore accidentally struck Cena, which ended up costing the match because AJ Styles ended up pinning Enzo Amore for the win. So they did a really good job building up to that. But then you also had the other problem with because after the WWE draft, WWE this was going to be the last. WWE had drafted AJ Styles to SmackDown and Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson to Raw. So this was going to be the club's last match as a team together. So that was that, and that was the build up. I thought this was a pretty good story here. You know, obviously this was when they were really started to change things for AJ Styles, because when AJ Styles originally came to the WWE, he didn't have the greatest start. They never really let him cut promos all that much. They only really let him wrestle matches. He lost his first WrestleMania match, so this was when they were really, once he turned heel, they really started to really get behind AJ Styles, and it definitely helped him. So that was great, and the club was really starting to become a great thing. And then we had the build up to the other six-man tag team match between the New Day and the Wyatt family. And the reason why this match was happening was because the New Day had made the transition from being baby faces, well, no, from being heels to baby faces, since the crowd had really gotten behind them. They were dominating the tag team division. They were the longest reigning WWE Tag Team Champions. And they defeated all the top tag teams. And the night after Money in the Bank, the Wyatt family made their return to the WWE because Bray Wyatt in real life had been injured, and the Wyatt family, talked about how they had been locked away, and they are here to take out all the superstars and to take out all the negativity in the world. And then the New Day were upset that that the Wyatt family never well, how do I say this? They never experienced the power of positivity. I don't think that's the right word, but so the New Day took exception to this, but then the Wyatt family didn't like the fact that the New Day always looked on the positive side when they have all this negative stuff going on in the world, which made sense. And this really started their feud. And then the Wyatt family, yeah. So but then then the issue is that the New Day was is that Xavier. Sorry, I'm getting distracted. Is that Xavier Woods of the New Day was like acting like he was mesmerized or scared of the Wyatt family. It was like Bray Wyatt had something over Xavier Woods. But he continued to fight through it. The New Day would make fun of the Wyatt family by dressing up like them, and the Wyatt family got upset about this, so they challenged them to come to their compound and fight them. Kofi Kingston and Big E accepted without even thinking about it, but then Xavier Woods got upset about this, talking about how they need to take this match more seriously because the Wyatt family are a creepy, different team that they've ever been in the win with. So during the compound, they got into the pretty lame brawl there, and then they really played up the fact that Xavier Woods was afraid of Bray Wyatt when Bray Wyatt defeated Xavier Woods because he was really scared of him. And this was on the WWE Draft Show, and then this really led into the match here. Also, this was also going to be the last time that the Wyatt family were going to team up together because Bray Wyatt and Eric Rowan had been drafted to SmackDown. Braun Strowman was drafted to Raw, so this was going to be the last time that they were going to team up together. So pretty cool stuff there. Then we had the build up to the United States Championship match between Rusev and Zack Ryder. The reason why this match was happening was because Rusev had won the United States Championship at Extreme Rules, and shortly afterwards, Zack Ryder started to get on a huge roll. He was one of the the surviving, the sole survivors on his teammates when it was Team USA versus Team multi, um, you know, I forget exactly what you call it, but like the multi country, when it was all Canada and stuff like that. He had started to get on a roll. He was getting some nice victories. So Zack Ryder challenged Rusev at Battleground for the United States Championship, to which Rusev accepted. That's really what kind of led us to this feud. And I thought it was a pretty, all right stuff. Zack Ryder was starting to get a push again. They had been burying Zack Ryder for years, and they were finally pushing him, which was cool. He even cuts an interview on the show where he talks about how, not a lot of people think that he's going to win this title. His dad thinks he's going to, but his mom's on the questionable side about it. And then he talked about how, that these people that doubted him, if he had listened to them, that he wouldn't have walked out of WrestleMania 32 with the Intercontinental Championship. So he says that tonight he's going to defeat Rusev and take the U.S. title from SmackDown, because that's one thing I forgot about, that this match was going to decide the fate where the U.S. title was going to go, because you had Zack Ryder, who was drafted to SmackDown, and you had Rusev, who was drafted to Raw, so that time was only going to tell. And then we had the build up to the tag team match between Charlotte and Dana Brooke and Sasha Banks and her mystery partner. The reason why this match was happening was because Charlotte and Sasha Banks were both called up to the main roster last year during the whole Divas Revolution. Charlotte had won the Divas Championship, and Sasha Banks was going after that title. She returned at the Royal Rumble and took out Charlotte. They had a triple threat match at WrestleMania 32 that involved Becky Lynch, where they had the match for to crown the new and first ever women's champion, because they had rebranded the Divas division into the women's division, and Charlotte ended up winning by making Becky Lynch tap out. And then Sasha Banks was off TV for a while. She returned the night after the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, and wanted to go after Charlotte's women's title, but Dana Brooke kept constantly getting in the way. So then Sasha Banks challenged Charlotte and Dana Brooke to a tag team match at Battleground, to which Sasha Banks was going to pick a tag team partner. And they really did a good job telling that she needed a tag team partner, because on the draft show, which was the Go Home Show episode of SmackDown, Charlotte and Dana Brooke defeated Sasha Banks in a 2-on-1 handicap match. So I thought that was a pretty good job there. So this was an all-right story. Obviously, the appeal was who was going to be Sasha Banks' tag team partner. Then we had the build up to the singles match on this show between Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, and this is probably the match that has the best story on this show. The reason why this match was happening was because Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn had been friends for years. They met at a professional wrestling show in Canada, and they just instantly became friends. They instantly clicked. They had been, and they kind of, they pretty much came up in the wrestling business together. They were a tag team in the indie scene. They were opponents. Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn was Kevin Owens' best man in his wedding. Sami Zayn was there when Kevin Owens' children was born, and then eventually Sami Zayn got signed to WWE in 2013, while Kevin Owens did not get signed to WWE. And Sami Zayn went up and did his thing on the main roster. Then eventually in 2014, Kevin Owens was signed by WWE, and he made his debut at NXT TakeOver All Evolution, where he ended up just dominating his opponent and looked really dominant. Ironically enough, on this same show, after months of chasing after the NXT Championship, Sami Zayn had finally won the NXT Championship. And you can check out my review of NXT TakeOver Evolution where I talk about that in the Retro Wrestling Review series right up there. And on that show, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn ended up, Kevin Owens was the first one to be out from the locker room to congratulate Sami Zayn on finally winning the NXT Championship. They ended up leaving together. It was a moment you never thought you would see with Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens both um, at a WWE show. But then Kevin Owens ended up turning on Sami Zayn. He ended up wiping him out and took him out by powerbombing him into the apron. And then Kevin Owens never really would say why he did it. He said that he did it really to make a better life for his wife and his kids and for himself because the NXT Championship meant more money. So this led to a match at NXT TakeOver Rival for the NXT Championship, to which Kevin Owens ended up destroying Sami Zayn. He ended up beating him up to the point where Sami Zayn couldn't continue it. He ended up taking the NXT Championship from Sami Zayn. And then Sami Zayn ended up returning. He wanted to have his rematch at NXT TakeOver Unstoppable. And Sami Zayn ended up getting taken out again by Kevin Owens, and he ended up getting hurt again. And then Kevin Owens ended up debuting on the main roster, to which Sami Zayn had said that was supposed to be his debut, and Kevin Owens stole it from him. And while Kevin Owens did his thing on the main roster, while Sami Zayn was hurt, he was dominated. He had won the Intercontinental Championship twice, and Sami Zayn, meanwhile, returned, and he finished out his dates down in NXT, and then eventually in the Royal Rumble match of 2016, Sami Zayn came out, eliminated Kevin Owens, and cost him the WWE Championship. And Sami Zayn had finally been called up to the main roster, which really ignited the feud again. And they both participated in a ladder match at WrestleMania 32, where Sami Zayn prevented Kevin Owens from winning by hitting the reverse exploder suplex on the ladder. And, this rivalry was really getting intense. Kevin Owens attacked Sami Zayn the night after WrestleMania 32 on the Monday Night Raw and prevented him from competing in a WWE Championship #1 contenders match. And then they just started to get involved in brawls. Kevin Owens finally revealed that he should have been the one that was signed before Sami Zayn, and how Sami Zayn, promised that he wouldn't go to WWE without Kevin Owens. And how if it is getting personal, Kevin Owens is the one that's making it personal. So then eventually, they had a match at Payback where Kevin Owens defeated Sami Zayn, but that just wasn't enough. Kevin Owens ended up tossing Sami Zayn out like he was a sack of crap, and Sami Zayn later on came back for revenge. They both participated in a Fatal 4 match at Extreme Rules for the Intercontinental Championship, where they prevented each other from winning. Then they both participated in the Money in the Bank ladder match at Money in the Bank, where Kevin Owens prevented Sami Zayn from winning. And then the night after, on the Monday Night Raw after Money in the Bank, the night afterwards, Sami Zayn defeated Kevin Owens in a match, and then they both just started to get involved in brawls. And Sami Zayn finally realized that they both aren't going to get ahead in their WWE careers if they kept feuding with each other. So Sami Zayn finally wanted to finish off this feud at Battleground, and to which Kevin Owens is accepted. This was going to be the big blow-off match. They continued to get into brawls and stuff, and this was going to be the big blow-off match. I thought the story had a great story. It was a perfect story. It was two friends who had become enemies against each other. The only thing I did not like about this feud is that during the WWE draft, WWE drafted them both to Raw. They both ended up on the same show. If anything, they really should have split them up to really show that was going to be the final match between Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Either Sami Zayn or Kevin Owens should have gone to Raw, and then the other one goes to SmackDown. So I don't really get why they just drafted them both at the same show. It really didn't make any sense. And yeah, that's pretty much what led us to this match, though. Fantastic build-up. When the people on the panel were talking about it, they had Cesaro get interviewed, and he even talked about how this feud was messing up with his career because when he returned to WWE on the Monday Night Raw the night after WrestleMania 32, he was on the verge of winning the Intercontinental Championship, but because of that feud, it cost him from doing so, which is true. And then he talked about how he was upset that he was on the panel and he wanted to show his skills in the ring, which I agreed with him. So overall, I thought Cesaro did a pretty good job though talking about the feud. And then we had the Q&A segment involving the general managers of both Raw and SmackDown, to which it was hosted by Tom Phillips. And obviously, Tom Phillips, he was at the time was the play-by-play commentator for NXT, and then eventually he became the play-by-play commentator for SmackDown and then 205 Live. And now he's no longer the play-by-play commentator for 205 Live or NXT. He only does SmackDown and the SmackDown exclusive pay-per-views now. And obviously, we also know Tom Phillips because he likes to send a photo of himself on an airplane saying that he's going to face fuck a woman, and also likes to screw people out of his job. So this is the Tom Phillips right there. And then pretty much though the questions that he asks is what Daniel Bryan and Mick Foley are going to offer SmackDown and what's going to be the main focus. Daniel Bryan says that the main focus is going to be the superstars. He doesn't want to put the focus on the authority figures. Mick Foley says that he's going to he wants the focus to be on the superstars as well, and he wants to push the hottest superstar at the time. And then they get asked which Hall of Fame they would draft if they could. Mick Foley says Terry Funk, because Terry Funk would constantly make those superstars better and would give advice to each superstar. Daniel Bryan says Shawn Michaels because it's his mentor, and I just lost $100. And then they get asked what they're going to do to make Raw and SmackDown better. Mick Foley says that they're going to put the emphasis on the Raw superstars. Daniel Bryan says they have some idea that they're going to have to wait to tune into SmackDown. And then that was it. I thought this was a pretty good interview segment. You know, Mick Foley was the Raw general manager. Daniel Bryan was the SmackDown general manager. I didn't say that. And obviously afterwards, Mick Foley would be the Raw general manager up until March of 2017. Then he would end up getting fired. And then Daniel Bryan is still the SmackDown general manager. Don't really get why he still is, since he just had a kid. There's really no reason for him to be at the SmackDown general manager anymore, but he is. So it is what it is. And then I think then we had the build-up to the Intercontinental Championship match between The Miz and Dalen Young. And the reason why this match was happening was because The Miz had won the Intercontinental Championship. Then on the Raw after WrestleMania 32, he had some successful Intercontinental Championship defenses. And meanwhile, you had Dalen Young. They were building up vignettes for the Make Dalen Young Great Again, where Bob Backlund was taking Dalen Young under his wing. And, Bob Backlund was going to help make Dalen Young great. He would do exercises with him. And then eventually, Dalen Young finally debuted. He ended up winning a Battle Royal to become the #1 contender to the Intercontinental Championship at Battleground. And then The Miz ended up, talking down Dalen Young, asking when Dalen Young never really was great. He would talk down Bob Backlund, to which Dalen Young defended him. And then it led to the match at Battleground. During the WWE draft, however, The Miz ended up getting drafted to SmackDown. Dalen Young got drafted to Raw. So this match was going to decide the fate of the Intercontinental Championship as well. So that's pretty interesting right there. Then we had the build-up with the highlight reel with Randy Orton. It had already been announced that Randy Orton was going to face Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam. And this was going to be the first time we had seen Randy Orton in well over a year. He had gotten injured in October of 2015. So Randy Orton was going to make his return. So it was pretty interesting. Orton and Jericho obviously had a history. You had Randy Orton, who ended up punting Chris Jericho and taking him out of action in October of 2010. And then they had a little bit mini feud going on in 2014. So you had Jericho, too, who was back, who was doing some of the best work of his career. So he was a heel, so that worked. And then we had the actual pre-show match itself. It was the SmackDown's the Usos versus SmackDown's Breezango. No real reason behind this match. Breezango just became a tag team about a month prior to this, and overall, I thought this was a pretty good tag team match here. The Usos dominate the first half of it when one of them hits a pendulum backbreaker into a right hand, and then eventually Fandango hits a hard shot into the ropes, and um, then Breezango started to take over the matchup. They hit a slingshot into an elbow drop, and then until one Uso really got the heat on him. Then the other Uso got the hot tag, hit a bunch of clotheslines, hit two Samoan drop, hit two a Samoan drop on both members of Breezango, hit a hip attack onto Tyler Breeze. The Usos just really took over the matchup. One of them hit a torpe suicida through the ropes, and they both hit super kicks on each other. And then eventually the finish came when one of the Usos went to go off the top rope and hit a splash, and Tyler Breeze got the knees up, rolled up that Uso for the win, and Breezango went over, which was a huge surprise because I don't think anyone expected the Usos to lose that match. And obviously the aftermath came. How ironic was it? The Usos ended up turning heel shortly afterwards, and they eventually won the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. Uh, you know, in March of 2017, and then Breezango turned face, and they ended up having a match at Backlash in 2017. And how ironic is that? Breezango now the baby faces, the Usos are now the heels, and the Usos defeated Breezango to retain the SmackDown Tag Team titles. So, and now you have Breezango, who's doing some pretty interesting work in their career. The Usos, who are probably having one of the best ones that they've ever had. So, ironically enough, both teams benefited from this match a pretty good amount. So that's pretty cool. And then we had the final thing on this pre-show, the build-up to the WWE Championship match between Dean Ambrose, Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins. The reason why this match was happening was because Dean Ambrose, Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins all came into WWE together as the Shield. They debuted at Survivor Series in 2012, and they really dominated WWE. They took out all the future. They took out former world champions, Hall of Famers, future Hall of Famers, and they just dominated WWE. They all were champions together. You had Dean Ambrose, who was the United States champion, and Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins, who were the WWE Tag Team champions, and they just dominated WWE. And eventually, the Shield, they even talked about how together they're stronger and how no one's ever going to break the bond that they have together. Then eventually, in May of 2014, the Shield finally broke up when Seth Rollins took both Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose out with a steel chair. Seth Rollins said that he did it because he wanted to prove that he was the real superior athlete of the Shield. He pretty much sold out and joined up with the Authority. Seth Rollins ended up winning the Money in the Bank ladder match. In 2014, he got into that really good feud with Dean Ambrose, where they ended up having a brawl at Battleground where the match never started. They ended up having a lumberjack match where Seth Rollins beat him. Then the night after at SummerSlam, Rollins beat him in a Falls Count Anywhere match. And then at Hell in a Cell, Seth Rollins beat Dean Ambrose in a Hell in a Cell match. And then, Seth Rollins then engaged into a feud. The feud went away for a while. Then Seth Rollins, each members of the Shield started to progress. Seth Rollins became the first member of the Shield to win the WWE World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania. And to which he pretty much screwed Roman Reigns out of winning the title during his match with Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 31 because Roman Reigns had won the Royal Rumble to win that spot. So Seth Rollins took that moment away from Roman Reigns. They teased the match even more. They had a little bit of a mini triple threat that involved Randy Orton at Payback 2015. And then to which they had a mini reunion where they triple powerbomb Orton through the table, but Rollins was still able to walk out with his championship. And then he re-entered his feud with Dean Ambrose, where Seth Rollins walked out both times and at Elimination Chamber and Money in the Bank and retain his title over Dean Ambrose. Seth Rollins was supposed to face Roman Reigns in a match for the title at Survivor Series, but he got hurt. So then Roman Reigns finally won his first WWE Championship when he defeated Dean Ambrose in the finals of a tournament to crown a new champion. But then he lost the title, and then Dean Ambrose was making a name for himself. He had won the Intercontinental Championship from Kevin Owens at Tables, Ladders, and Chairs, or TLC for short in 2015. And then uh, Roman Reigns had lost the WWE World Heavyweight Championship at the Royal Rumble. Dean Ambrose nearly became close. He was the final two guys in the Royal Rumble match to win, but nearly won the championship. Roman Reigns won the WWE Championship in the main event of WrestleMania 32. And then Seth Rollins finally returned at Extreme Rules and took out Roman Reigns. And this led to the match between Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns at Money in the Bank, where Seth Rollins defeated Roman Reigns to become the new WWE Champion. And then Dean Ambrose, who had won the Money in the Bank ladder match earlier in the night, ended up cashing in his contract and taking the WWE Championship from Seth Rollins. And on that night at Money in the Bank, all three members of the Shield were WWE Champion. And Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins both had a rematch for the WWE Championship. So the match was made a number one contenders match the night on Raw the night afterwards between Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, to which both men got counted out. So then Dean Ambrose suggested that he fights both of them, to which the request was granted. He ended up laying them both out with dirty deeds. And then Roman Reigns at the same time was suspended due to taking Adderall. So then pretty much Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose was set to carry the feud. Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins restarted their feud. Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins had a match for the WWE Championship where the match was a no contest. So then they had a rematch on the draft show of SmackDown, to which Dean Ambrose retained his WWE Championship, but Rollins had another chance to win that title here. And the caveat also was what the fate of the WWE Championship was going to be, because you had Dean Ambrose, who was drafted to SmackDown as the WWE Champion, and then you had Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins, who were drafted to Raw. And Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins had a chance to win that championship to Monday Night Raw, so it was going to be interesting to see who was going to win that match. And it was a great build-up because it was a match that everybody had wanted to see. People have questioned why it didn't take place at a SummerSlam. Well, that's because this was the last time where all three members of the Shield were going to be on the same brand, so I thought it made sense to do it at Battleground. And pretty much that's the entire pre-show. But the pre-show was pretty good. I enjoyed the Q&A segment with Mick Foley and Daniel Bryan. I enjoyed the tag team match on the show, and I also enjoyed the Zack Ryder interview. So overall, I thought this was a pretty good pre-show here, and that's pretty much it. Now I'm going to start actually reviewing the actual show itself. Okay, so now we had the actual show itself. We had SmackDown's JBL, Raw's Michael Cole, and Raw's Byron Saxton on commentary for this show. And the aftermath, JBL would continue is still the heel commentator on SmackDown, and I hate JBL because he's part of the reason that Mauro Ranallo, almost left WWE. And then we have Michael Cole, who's the play-by-play guy for still for Raw and for the Raw exclusive pay-per-views, and then JBL, obviously, like I said, the SmackDown and the SmackDown exclusive pay-per-views that I already talked about what Byron Saxton's doing. And I liked the hype video package they played for this show. I thought that was really well done. And we had the first match on the show. It was Monday Night was Charlotte and Dana Brooke versus Monday Night was Sasha Banks and a mystery partner in a tag team match. And we found out that Sasha Banks' tag team partner was none other than NXT's Bayley. This was not an official call-up for Bayley, though. It ended up just being a one-off appearance for a little bit. But obviously, I think everybody knew it was going to be Bayley because I think they assumed she was going to be called up to the main roster. And she has a big entrance. Bayley and Sasha reunite, but then Charlotte and Dana Brooke attack Bayley, and Sasha Banks before the match starts. They beat the crap out of her. Charlotte throws Bayley into the barricade as Dana Brooke fires away with right hands at Sasha Banks, and then they beat the crap out of Bayley, and Dana Brooke knocks Sasha off the apron. Eventually, Bayley's able to overturn the attack by hitting a elbow drop from the middle turnbuckle, towards when the match has already started at this point. Then Sasha Banks comes in. She starts taking out Charlotte. She hits a Hurricanrana onto Charlotte, and then eventually Charlotte hits a big boot and throws her right face first into the turnbuckle. And also I forgot to mention, well, it didn't happen yet, so I don't need to mention it. And then Dana Brooke and Charlotte get the heat on Sasha for a while. And then Bayley gets the hot tag, and she starts going off on Dana Brooke, and she goes to go off the middle turnbuckle. Charlotte distracts her. Dana Brooke pulls her off, and she lands. Um, and she lands onto and the back of her head lands right into the turnbuckle, and then they dominate Bayley for a while, and then Bayley Sasha gets the hot tag again. She hits a double knees onto Charlotte, and she acts like she's gonna put away Charlotte, but then Charlotte hits a big boot into the natural selection, covers her. Bayley immediately breaks up the pinfall. Then she takes out Dana Brooke, and then Sasha Banks gets Charlotte into the bank statement, but then Dana Brooke pulls her, her underneath the rope, and then Bayley hits a drop kick through the ring post. Charlotte hits a big boot on Bayley, and then Sasha Banks then hits the bank statement on Charlotte, and then Charlotte taps out, so Sasha Banks and Bayley win. And obviously, I thought this match was a good match here. The best part about it was Bayley being on the main roster. I thought that was pretty cool. But overall, I thought this was a good match here. And the aftermath is the next night, Sasha would win the women's championship from Charlotte, and she would hold on to the championship till SummerSlam, where Charlotte would win back the championship. Meanwhile, Bayley would finish her NXT dates, and then she would get recalled up to the main roster and officially join the Raw roster the night after SummerSlam, and she would knock off Charlotte in a matchup. And then this led to a triple threat match at Clash of Champions between Charlotte, Bayley, and Sasha Banks to what was for now called the Raw Women's Championship, and Charlotte ended up retaining the championship, and then Charlotte would what else? And then Sasha Banks would regain the Raw Women's Championship in the main event of Raw, which was the first time that the woman had main event of Raw since 2005, 2006 time. And then, meanwhile, Dana Brooke and Bayley would get into a feud. They would blow up. They would have a match at Hell in a Cell where Bayley would win, and then Sasha Banks and Charlotte went on to have the first ever women's Hell in a Cell match where Charlotte would win back the Raw Women's Championship, and then they all went on to have a match at Survivor Series. Where it was Team Raw versus Team Raw's woman versus Team SmackDown's woman, and Charlotte, Sasha Banks, and Bayley were all on Team Raw, and Charlotte and Bayley ended up being the sole survivors and winning the match. And afterwards, Charlotte would attack Bayley, and then this led to the rematch though between Charlotte and Sasha Banks. In a false count, in the first ever women's false count anywhere match, where Sasha Banks would regain the Raw Women's Championship, and then Charlotte would regain the title right back at Roadblock end of the line. And the second ever women's Iron Woman match, where Charlotte would regain the championship, and then Charlotte would get into a feud over with Bayley for the title. Charlotte successfully retained her championship at the Royal Rumble, and then Bayley would win the championship on Raw a few weeks later. Charlotte had the big pay-per-view streak, and she ended up breaking Charlotte's pay-per-view streak at Fastlane, where Bayley successfully retained, and then Charlotte, Sasha Banks, and Bayley all entered into were all in a fatal four match at WrestleMania 33 for the championship, where Bayley retained the title. And then after the Superstar Shakeup, Charlotte was traded to SmackDown, and Sasha Banks and Bayley stayed on Raw. Bayley lost her Raw Women's title to, I forget Well, Bailey ended up losing the Raw Women's Championship at Payback, and then Sasha Banks is now contending for the Raw Women's title. They pretty much have Bailey really badly, and then Charlotte's not really doing crap on SmackDown. She was just in the first ever Women's Money in the Bank ladder match, but other than that, she hasn't done nothing. And I thought that's been pretty lame. And Charlotte and Dana Brooke ended up breaking away from each other, led to a match on Raw that Charlotte won. But overall, all the women benefited. Bailey's benefited short term wise. She got to win the Raw Women's title and stuff. But obviously now she's just being buried. Sasha Banks has been a 3-time Raw Women's champion, and Charlotte and Bailey have had no. Charlotte and Sasha Banks have had probably one of the best women's feud ever, but definitely the best feud of probably 2016. And then Dana Brooke just sucks, so this match didn't help her improve at all. So overall, though, I thought this was a good opening tag team match. Okay, so next match was the first 6-man tag team match of the night. It was The New Day versus Raw and SmackDown's The Wyatt Family. Like I said, this was going to be the Wyatt family's last match as a team, since Bray Wyatt and Eric Rowan were drafted to SmackDown and Braun Strowman was drafted to Raw. And the New Day come out and they cut a promo. Xavier Woods talks about how um, they are now the longest reigning WWE Tag Team Champions in WWE history, and they talk about how they were drafted to Raw together, how they were worried about that, but then they say they have to get serious because the Wyatt family have been split up, and tonight they could be more dangerous than ever since it's going to be the final match together. And tonight they say that the power of positivity will reign over the Wyatt family. Good promo. Then we had the match. Big E's about to start off the matchup with Braun Strowman, but then Xavier Woods tags himself in, and Bray Wyatt tags himself in, and Xavier Woods acts like he's in a daze when he sees Bray Wyatt. So Kofi Kingston tags himself in, and he hits a drop kick on Bray Wyatt, and Xavier Woods is still like hypnotized by Bray Wyatt, so Kofi Kingston has him get out, and Xavier Woods snaps out of it. But then Braun Strowman picks apart Kofi Kingston. He throws him halfway across the ring, and pretty much the Wyatt family pick apart Kofi Kingston for a while. They just really dominate Kofi. I thought they was some pretty good stuff. And then eventually, Big E gets the hot tag on Eric Rowan, and he hits all his moves on it. Eric Rowan. He goes for the big ending, but then Braun Strowman gets up on the apron. He knocks him down, and then um, Eric Rowan hits a rock bottom onto Big E, covers him. Kofi Kingston breaks up the cover. No, Xavier Woods breaks it up. Braun Strowman takes down Kofi. Kofi takes out Strowman with a drop kick, and then he hits a dive through the ropes onto Strowman. And Big E and Kofi go for the midnight hour, but Bray Wyatt takes out Big E, and Kofi hits a drop kick on Wyatt. Xavier Woods tags himself in, and he has to face off with Bray Wyatt. He acts like he's in a daze, and acts like he's hypnotized. He's about to get down on his knees for Wyatt, but then Kofi Kingston interferes. He goes to go off the top turnbuckle, but Wyatt catches him into Yoanagi, and then Xavier Woods snaps out of it. He finally conquers his fear. He starts to take out Bray Wyatt. He hits a splash off the top rope halfway across the ring, covers him, he kicks out, and he starts off doing really well. He takes out Rowan. He goes to take out Strowman, but Strowman's too powerful for him, so Big E spears him through the ropes. And then when Woods turns around, he sees that Bray Wyatt's doing his exorcism while so this creeps him out, so he goes for a big boot. Wyatt moves out of the way and he hits the Sister Abigail for the win, and the Wyatt family go over. They win their final match as a team, which I don't really know what the point of that was. It wasn't like it really was going to do anything for the Wyatt family, so why not just have the New Day win? But whatever. The aftermath came. The Wyatt family, Bray Wyatt finally won a feud within WWE. That's something he had never really done. He never really has won a feud, so it was good that he won that feud. And The aftermath came. The New Day would go on to have their run on Raw. The New Day would get into a feud with Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson for their WWE Tag Team Championships, where Gallows and Anderson would end up taking out Big E. And then Gallows and Anderson, um, you know, they took out, um, failed to win the tag titles at the Rumble. Then they failed at Clash of Champions, and then the WWE Tag Team Championships became known as the Raw Tag Team Championships. Um, the New Day would continuously hold those championships. They got into a feud with Sheamus and Cesaro um, over the tag team championships, and they finally lost them to Sheamus and Cesaro at Roadblock end of the line, and they became the longest tag team champions of any kind in WWE, which is really damn impressive. Then they went on to be the host of WrestleMania 33. Then they were traded to SmackDown due to the Superstar shakeup, and then they're currently in the feud with the Usos for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships, and they're wrestling them at Battleground this year for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. And then as for the Wyatt family, Braun Strowman, whoever would have thought what would happen with Braun Strowman? Braun Strowman, when he originally came to WWE, he was green as goose shit. He sucked. There, I don't think there was anyone ever thought there was going to be any potential in him. But then eventually, when he went to Raw and got to be by himself, he really improved as a performer. Um, he started having monstrous squash matches that really got him over, and then eventually he asked for real competition. He got into a feud with Sami Zayn where he ended up defeating Sami Zayn in the Last Man Standing match in January of 2017. He had a really good showing in the Royal Rumble match. Um, he got into a feud with Roman Reigns. He failed to defeat him at Fastlane, but then he destroyed Roman Reigns at Payback, and then he defeated him in an ambulance match this year at Great Balls of Fire. Um, and whoever would have thought that Braun Strowman, um, he's probably the best superstar who gets the hugest reactions, and he's just tremendously improved. He's a huge monster, and I think that's awesome for Strowman. As for the other two members of the Wyatt family, Bray Wyatt and Eric Rowan, will have their run on SmackDown. Um, they got into a feud with Randy Orton, um, but Eric Rowan ended up getting injured, so he was off TV. So Bray Wyatt joined it himself, and then Bray Wyatt would defeat Randy Orton at you know uh, No Mercy, and then Randy Orton joined the Wyatt family himself, um, and they reformed it, and Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton won the SmackDown Tag Team Championships at Tables, Ladders, and Chairs, which is also known as TLC for short, in 2016, and then they won then they lost them before the end of the year. Bray Wyatt, and Randy Orton were the final three members in the Royal Rumble match, and Randy Orton would go on to win the Royal Rumble, and then Bray Wyatt would win the WWE Championship at Elimination Chamber, and it would be Bray Wyatt versus Randy Orton for the WWE Championship. Randy Orton would beat Bray Wyatt for the title. Then they had a shitty ass House of Horrors match at Payback for the well, it wasn't for the title actually, because afterwards Bray Wyatt was traded to Raw after the Superstar shakeup, and Bray Wyatt would defeat Randy Orton in the House of Horrors match, and then pretty much Bray Wyatt has really done nothing. He was in a pretty lame feud with Seth Rollins, where he defeated him at Great Balls of Fire, and then Raw the next night, and yeah, and Bray Wyatt pretty much never wins a feud, and his character is pretty much too broken to repair, so that sucks for Bray Wyatt. And Eric Rowan pretty much in a jobber status and really doing nothing on SmackDown. So yeah, pretty much the Wyatt family, other than Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman's pretty much become a huger star than Bray Wyatt or Eric Rowan, which is pretty damn sad. Um, the only ones that really benefited from this match were the New Day and Braun Strowman, and yeah, really Bray Wyatt and Eric Rowan didn't benefit from this match. But this match I thought was an alright match. I thought this match actually though was a pretty decent match. I definitely got into it towards the end, but it was very slow in the beginning. Pretty typical tag team match stuff, but yeah, like I said, pretty decent match. I kind of like the stuff they did with Xavier Woods. It's kind of weird stuff, but and I don't know if I necessarily agree with the Wyatt family winning if they were just going to break up anyway. So why not just have the New Day win? I don't know, but that's pretty much my thoughts on the match. Okay, so Next match was a United States Championship match. Was United States Champion Rusev with Lana ringside, who was also on Raw. She even came out and made like this big announcement talking about how Rusev was Beyonce and stuff. But anyhow, it was Raw. Let me just say it again. Next was the United States Championship match. Was United States Champion Rusev with Lana versus SmackDown Zack Ryder. Overall, I thought this was a solid United States Championship match here. Nothing fancy, but pretty solid. Um, Rusev is out wrestling Zack Ryder, but Zack Ryder comes back with a few right hands. He takes off and shoots Rusev into chasing him around, and Ryder hits a drop kick through the ropes, and then he puts him in the ring. He goes for the drop kick from the second turnbuckle. Rusev moves out of the way, and then Rusev starts to target the back of Zack Ryder. Zack Ryder starts to make his comeback. He goes for the Brewski boot in the corner, but Rusev blocks it, and Ryder and he hits a kick right to the back of the head, and then Ryder hits the Brewski boot anyways on him, and then he Rusev goes for a suplex. Ryder counters into a neck breaker, and then eventually Rusev goes on the outside. Ryder attacks him, hits a drop kick through the ropes. Rusev hits a like a front face suplex right into the barricade, and then he goes to charge at Zack Ryder. Ryder moves out of the way, hits a drop kick off the barricade, and then he puts Rusev in the ring. He hits the Rough Rider on Rusev, and then he goes for the elbow drop from the top turnbuckle. Rusev gets the knees up, hits another kick to the back of the head, like a super kick to the back of the head, and then he gets him in the accolade. At first, it looks like Ryder's going to break the move, but then Rusev really starts to stretch in the accolade, and Ryder taps out. Rusev retains his United States Championship. Obviously, this was just made to make Rusev look like a credible champion, but I thought Zack Ryder looked pretty strong in this match. I like he came out even all dressed up like for America, and he had his new theme song and stuff, and I thought Ryder looked good. And afterwards, Rusev continues to attack Zack Ryder, and then he goes to put him in the accolade again. And then Mojo Rawley comes out. Now, Mojo Rawley had just been drafted to SmackDown, and he was Zack Ryder's tag team partner down in NXT. They were known as the Hype Bros. And he comes out and he has a face-off with Rusev, and Rusev actually doesn't look like he's a pref, so he just leaves. I thought that was pretty funny. And then Mojo Rawley stands tall, and then that was it. And the aftermath of this is on Raw. Rusev would get into a feud with Roman Reigns for the United States Championship. The match wouldn't start at SummerSlam. It would lead to a brawl. And then at Clash of Champions, Roman Reigns would defeat Rusev for the United States Championship. And then Rusev and Reigns would have the rematch in Hell in a Cell. In a Hell in a Cell match that I attended live. And Roman Reigns would win the rematch. And then Rusev pretty much got into a feud with Big Cass and Enzo Amore, where he defeated Big Cass like Enzo Amore really easily. He had a match with Big Cass at Roadblock end of the line kickoff, where he won by countout. Then he beat Big Cass the next night by disqualification. And then Rusev would find a tag team partner. Enzo Amore and Big Cass would prevail in the feud. And then Rusev went undercut his hair, and he ended up getting injured and missing WrestleMania 33. And then after the Superstar shakeup, him and Lana were traded to SmackDown. Well, ironically enough, they kind of split them up. Now Lana's an in-ring competitor for some unknown reason, and if you watch Lana here and just any other time with Rusev, she just was so much better off being with Rusev, not being an in-ring competitor, because she's gotten jobbed out like 3 times to the SmackDown Women's Champion. And then you have Rusev, who is back in a program with John Cena, and they're having a flag match this year at Battleground. Well, obviously it looks like that John Cena is going to win. Stupid. So Rusev's pretty much in the same spot he was at. As for the Hype Bros, they would go on to start teaming together on SmackDown, and they pretty much were doing decent on SmackDown. They had become the number 1 contenders for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships, where they were going to face Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt. But then Zack Ryder got hurt, so then he was injured for a while. Mojo Rawley would go on at WrestleMania 33 to win the 3rd annual. the 4th annual Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, and then Zack Ryder would come back shortly afterwards, and they reformed their team. They had an opportunity to fight the Usos to gain back the number one contendership to the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. However, um, they lost, and now it looks like they're going to split up the Hype Bros, so whatever. So overall, nobody's really benefited from this match, but whatever. I still thought the match was solid, though. Okay, so next, Mick Foley and Stephanie McMahon backstage, and Seth Rollins comes up and asks why they're talking about the Women's Revolution when they should be talking about Seth Rollins. They said they are talking about Raw, and Seth Rollins like tonight. This match is not going to be about Roman Reigns' big return or Dean Ambrose defending the WWE Championship. Tonight's going to be about me taking back the WWE Championship, a championship that he never lost. And then he says that and Stephanie McMahon's like, which is why you're going to prove why we picked you as the number one draft pick. And Seth Rollins is confident, saying that he could wipe the floor with those chumps, Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose. Mick Foley then says that he's glad to see that loss to Dean Ambrose on SmackDown on the draft episode didn't affect his confidence. And then Seth Rollins says that it didn't affect his confidence at all, and that he talks about how he's going to take out because Roman Reigns is a loose animal because he attacked him at a live event on the previous Friday, and now Dean Ambrose is a loose lunatic, and Mick Foley and Stephanie McMahon's like, I know you're right because he said that he wanted to be on SmackDown instead of being on Raw with us, and then Seth Rollins says that he's going to take the WWE Championship and he's going to have a big celebration with it, and then in 9 months or so, people are going to there's going to be a boom period of people of babies named after him, which is Rollins, which I don't know if that's a good thing or not. And then when he walks away, Mick Foley's like, "Don't blame me for this stuff. You're the one that drafted him." So overall, I thought this was actually a pretty decent backstage segment. Okay, so then we had the next match. It was Raw's Sami Zayn versus Raw's Kevin Owens. And this was just a fantastic match because of this was the final blow off match that these two were going to have in their feud. And the match starts off. Sami Zayn immediately goes for the Haluba kick on Owens, but Owens rolls out of the ring, and they both stop brawling outside the ring. Owens throws Sami Zayn back first into the barricade, and he goes to throw him a second time into the barricade, but then Sami Zayn reverses it. He throws him back first into the barricade, and then he throws him back first again into the barricade and hits a clothesline on him. And Sami Zayn really dominates the first half of this matchup. He goes for his move where he walks the tightrope and hits the DDT, but Owens pulls out, takes his leg out from underneath him, and then he hits the cannonball in the corner, covers him. Zayn kicks out. Then Kevin Owens pretty much dominates this matchup for a while. He hits the senton on Zayn, and he really picks apart Sami Zayn throughout the rest of this matchup, throughout the rest of the matchup, pretty much. And then eventually, Sami Zayn hit a drop kick onto Kevin Owens, and Owens ended up rolling out of the ring, and then Sami Zayn went to hit the dive, but Owens pulled him out of the ring, went for the powerbomb under the apron. Owens Zayn held onto the ropes, and then he hit the split-legged moonsault on the outside, and the way that Owens catches his shoulder on the way down just looked the way that Zayn caught his shoulder on the way down looked like he legit hurt himself because the way he landed. And then Owens bounces hit Zayn's shoulder off to the ring post, and he starts to pick apart Sami Zayn's shoulder. And He really works over the shoulder of Sami Zayn. He hits a suplex into the ring, and he gets him into a crossface. Sami Zayn's able to get his leg on the ropes, and then he puts Owens up on the turnbuckle, and then he goes for the superplex. Zayn fights out of it. He goes to hit a dive off the top turnbuckle, but Owens moves out of the way, and Zayn flips out of it. Owens hits the super kick, covers him. Zayn kicks out, and then he hits the crossface that I just talked about. Um, and there was even a spot where Owens hit a senton on Zayn, but Zayn just barely wasn't able to move out of the way. And then eventually Sami Zayn hit um and then Kevin Owens went for the cannonball again. Again, Zayn turned it into a clothesline, and then Sami Zayn hit a. Kevin Owens went for the rolling senton off the apron, but Zayn counted it into a brainbuster onto the apron, and Owens. It just looked like Owens died afterwards, and Sami Zayn's able to beat the count, and Kevin Owens just barely beats the count, and then he goes for the haluba kick. Well, then Sami Zayn hits the springboard DDT off the ropes and covers him. Owens kicks out. Then he goes for the DDT through the turnbuckle on the outside because Owens had rolled out of the ring when he went for the haluba kick. And then Owens catches him into a super kick, and then he hits the cannonball while Zayn is still laid out from the super kick, and then the frog splash covers him. Sami Zayn kicks out, and Kevin Owens then Sami Zayn hits an explosive suplex on Owens, and Owens is able just to flip out of it, goes for a clothesline, ducks it. Zayn hits another reverse explosive suplex actually, um, and then covers him. Owens kicks out, and then Zayn goes for the haluba kick. Uh, well, actually, but Owens hit a super kick, and then he hits the pop up power bomb on Zayn, um, and covers him. Zayn gets his foot on the ropes, and this just looks like Owens is distraught after this, and he's upset. He's like, "Don't make me have to put you down for good," and he slaps Sami Zayn, and then Sami Zayn tells him to win it. Then he slaps him again. Zayn slaps Owens, and then Kevin Owens goes to attack Zayn. Zayn hits an exploder suplex into the corner. He goes, and then he hits a reverse exploder suplex, and then he hits the haluba kick, and Kevin Owens falls into Sami Zayn's hands, and it looks like Sami Zayn is showing compassion for Kevin Owens, but then he picks him up in the corner, and it just looks like and then he just hits one final haluba kick in spite of Kevin Owens because he despised him that much and wanted to finally put an end to this. Covers him, gets the win. Sami Zayn wins the blow-off match. I thought this was a fantastic match. It told a really great story, and it had really great emotion, especially when you know, when Kevin Owens couldn't put him away after the pump up power bomb, and Kevin Owens was begging him not to have him put him down. The brawls, the altercations that they were getting into, you could just feel like these two guys really hated each other. And obviously, what really made the match was the ending when Kevin Owens fell right into Sami Zayn's hands, and Sami Zayn, you know, looked at him like he was distraught about it. I thought that really made the match. And the only thing that really hurts this match was that they weren't that they were both on the same show. This match really felt like a blow off match if one of them had been drafted to different brands, like I had said before. And I think that's what really kind of hurt the match. Because then right after this, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn temporarily would go on to do their own thing. Kevin Owens formed a tag team with Chris Jericho, with they would become known as Jericho, and they would go on to they would face Big Cass and Enzo Amore at SummerSlam, and I believe they would go on to win that match. And then Sami Zayn had he pretty much had um, an unconsequential kickoff match at SummerSlam, which was kind of stupid for Sami Zayn. And then Kevin Owens would go on to win the WWE Universal Championship in 2000 a couple of weeks after SummerSlam, after you know Pretty much then Sami Zayn felt like he didn't find much success out of that feud, so he wanted to prove that he could be successful. So he wanted to face Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens would beat Sami Zayn. So literally a month after this match, they had another match which is I really thought kind of hurt the program. Sami Zayn went on to feud with Chris Jericho because Chris Jericho had claimed he was Kevin Owens' best friend. Sami Zayn would try to warn Chris Jericho that wasn't the case. He's just using him. And then Jericho would attack Sami Zayn, and then Sami Zayn would, you know, um, Chris Jericho would defeat Sami Zayn at Clash of Champions, and then Kevin Owens would retain his WWE Universal Championship against Seth Rollins on that show. And then Sami Zayn went into that feud with Braun Strowman I just talked about, and Kevin Owens would continue to be a dominant WWE Universal Champion. He knocked off Seth Rollins in a Hell in a Cell match at Hell in a Cell. Um, he, Sami Zayn did get a chance to win the Intercontinental Championship from The Miz at Survivor Series and win the title to Raw, but he failed, which is a little bit of a spoiler right there, I guess. And then, um, and then he re-entered his feud with Braun Strowman. He wanted to wrestle Strowman, but Mick Foley didn't want to take the chance. So they got into a little bit of an argument. Sami Zayn wanted to be traded to SmackDown, but then it didn't happen. And it was revealed that there was no trade. It was to win the fire out of Sami Zayn to face Braun Strowman. So at Roadblock end of the line, Sami Zayn had a chance to last 10 minutes with Braun Strowman, to which he did. And then Kevin Owens would face Roman Reigns for the WWE Universal Championship. He had his blow-off match against Reigns at the Royal Rumble. And then Sami Zayn went on to have a pretty decent showing inside the Royal Rumble match. I believe he lasted about all the way to like the final few guys. And then what else? Sami Zayn had a chance to take the United States Championship from Chris Jericho, but he failed because Kevin Owens cost him the match. And then um, Kevin Owens went on to eventually turn his back on Chris Jericho, which ended up proving, uh, Sami Zayn right. And then Kevin Owens went on to destroy Sami Zayn in a match on Raw a week later. Kevin Owens lost his WWE Universal Championship in 22 seconds against Goldberg, which was stupid. Um, and then he wrestled Jericho for the U.S. title at WrestleMania 33. Won the title from him just to lose it to him at Payback, just to win it right back on SmackDown, because then Kevin Owens was traded to SmackDown due to the Superstar shakeup. And Sami Zayn was also traded to SmackDown, so they continued to have matches with each other. And They were both in the Money in the Bank ladder match this year at Money in the Bank together. So um, yeah, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens really are destined to fight forever. But like I said, in the aftermath, I think Kevin Owens has benefited pretty well afterwards. Kevin Owens has won the WWE Universal Championship. He's a two-time United States champion. He had a really good feud with Chris Jericho. Sami Zayn really didn't benefit all that much from this. He was pretty much unutilized. That's why maybe he should have gone to SmackDown instead, and he could have bounced off that momentum, could have feuded with either The Miz for the IC title, or he could have feuded with Rusev for the United States Championship, or he could have feuded with maybe maybe could have gone for the WWE Championship. I think Sami Zayn would have been better off being on SmackDown, so that way he could kind of do his own thing. And yeah, I think the main misbooking opportunity from this was that after this match, they were both still on the same brand, so it kind of didn't really make it feel like as much of a blow off match. But still, I thought this was a fantastic match. Okay, so next the panel had a segment, and pretty much they just kind of went over everything that happened now on the show so far. I thought it was pretty decent. It was all right. Next match was Natalia versus Becky Lynch. I thought this was a good match here. What definitely hurt it was its placement on the cards to just follow that fantastic singles match right afterwards, or right beforehand. But still a good match here. Becky Lynch dominates the first half of the matchup. She beats the crap out of Natalia. Um, Natalia attacks the leg of Becky Lynch. She throws her leg first to the steel steps, and then she really starts to target the leg of Becky Lynch, and really go after it. Then eventually Becky Lynch is able to hit a drop kick, and take down Natalia. Then she starts making a comeback. She hits a back exploder, goes for the disarmer. Natalia counters into the sharpshooter, but Becky Lynch is able to get to the ropes. Then Becky Lynch hits a missile dropkick from the top turnbuckle, and then Natalia hides behind the official. And while the official's trying to hold her back, Natalia takes out Becky Lynch's knee and gets her in the sharpshooter. Becky Lynch taps out. Natalia wins. I thought it was a good match here. Really don't really see the appeal though of Natalia really being a heel. I still kind of don't. Um, she's been a veteran for a while. Natalia really doesn't need to be a heel, so I don't really get why they put her as a heel. Um, really didn't understand her going over, I guess, because Becky Lynch, I think, needed to win a little bit more since she's the younger talent. But, I guess Natalia needed to win too to validate her heel turn. So, either way, it's 50-50 booking. And yeah, I also feel bad for Natalia because now that women's wrestling's important again, she's starting to be featured, but it's too little too late for Natalia to really be a champion because you have all these other women coming in, and Natalia, I just think, isn't in the right place or the right time anymore. She's also been doing this, almost a decade now, about 9 years. She's been in the WWE. If she had, this is why I kind of wish Natalia, I get obviously when you wanted to be signed, but it would have been better if she had come into the WWE, you know, when women's wrestling was harder, because obviously Natalia came into WWE when WWE didn't care about women's wrestling. But um, going over the aftermath, I didn't even mention that both these women, by the way, were on SmackDown. I completely forgot to mention it because I've been trying to say like which brand they were on, but they were both on the same brand. They were both drafted to SmackDown. They would kind of continue their storyline on SmackDown. They were both part of a 6-woman tag match at SummerSlam that I believe, I think Becky Lynch's team won. I don't really remember. Um, and then they both participated in a six-pack elimination match to crown the first SmackDown Women's Champion, which Becky Lynch won. She became the first ever SmackDown Women's Champion. And then Natalia really didn't do anything afterwards. And then Becky Lynch lost the SmackDown Women's Championship at TLC 2016, and then pretty much has been trying to get back to that title. Becky Lynch and Natalia both were in like a huge multi-woman six-pack challenge match at WrestleMania 33 for the SmackDown Women's title. Neither of them won. Then they were both in the Money in the Bank ladder match, the first ever women's Money in the Bank ladder match, and neither of them won. So that's how it is there. Both of them have decently benefited. Becky Lynch became the first ever SmackDown Women's Champion, so she pretty much benefited from this. She finally got to have a moment of being SmackDown Women's Champion. Natalia, I think, has been about in the same spot, so she didn't really benefit, but now she's being featured a lot more, so that's progress, I guess. So overall, though, I still thought this was a good match here. Okay, so next, Dean Ambrose is backstage, and Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon come up to him and they wish Dean Ambrose luck in his match tonight, and they say that they know he can beat Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns because he knows them better than anybody else does in the WWE. Um, and he says that he has something that they don't have, and that's heart. Because after everything that he's fought through hard after everything. And then Daniel Bryan says that we drafted you number one because you are the best wrestler in the world. Um, and when it was when we fought all over the world and we fought as the Shield, we weren't worried about Seth Rollins or Roman Reigns. We were worried about you because you were unpredictable and you were crazy. You were a lunatic, unhinged, and he says that we know that you can win this match tonight. And then Dean Ambrose says that, and out of all the people the Shield has beaten up, you are our favorite, Daniel. And then Dean Ambrose was like, well, that sounded better in my head, which I thought was funny. But he says that tonight the Shield goes to war because we're going to burn bridges and we're going to um, throw everything that we can at each other. But tonight I'm going to be the one walking with the WWE Championship. And then Shane McMahon tells Daniel Bryan, he says, I think he's ready. Overall, I thought this was actually a very good backstage segment. I thought Daniel Bryan was great here. I thought Shane McMahon was good, and I thought Dean Ambrose himself was pretty good. And I thought this was like he was cutting his promo like he would when he was in the Shield. So I thought that was great. So overall, great backstage segment here. Okay, so next match was an Intercontinental Championship match. SmackDown's Intercontinental Champion The Miz with SmackDown's Maurice ringside versus um, Waz Darren Young with Waz Bob Backlund ringside. And this match was trash. The match itself was going all right, but the finish just made this match absolute trash. So they both start chain wrestling each other. Darren Young gets the upper hand, and then when he goes to go off the second turnbuckle, Maurice distracts him, so The Miz pushes him off. And The Miz drops Darren Young chest first on the barricade, and he really dominates um, Darren Young. He tries to make a comeback, but Miz cuts him off by hitting a big boot. He goes for his clothesline in the corner, but Darren Young hits a clothesline on him. And then Darren Young starts to make his comeback. He hits a belly-to-back suplex. And then The Miz hangs him up on the top rope. He goes to leave, but Bob Backlund stands in his way. So then Darren Young pulls him in the ring, hits another belly-to-back suplex. And then Maurice comes over, slaps Bob Backlund in the face, which if you know Bob Backlund, he's not the most sane person in the world, so that's probably a bad idea. So then he tries to take off like his jacket, but it fails, and this distracts. And then Maurice falls over, tries to pretend that Bob Backlund hit her. So then the Miz comes over, pushes over Bob Backlund, and then Darren Young puts Miz in the crossface chicken win. And the referee just calls the match off out of nowhere. Miz is tapping out, and Bob Backlund holds him there. Referees have to pull him off, and then afterwards they leave. And then that was this match. But this was a lame match with a lame. Well, this match was just an average match, but it had that lame finish, so that really makes this a lame match. And I don't really get why you would do this finish because it wasn't like you could do the match again because you had The Miz who was on SmackDown and Darren Young who was going to Raw, so it really didn't make any sense that they did this finish because it's not like you could really do another blow-off match. They really should have just had Miz successfully retain his Intercontinental Championship. But this pretty much meant that The Miz was taking the Intercontinental Championship to SmackDown with him. So that was lame. The aftermath came as The Miz would do some great work on SmackDown as Intercontinental Champion. He had that great shoot interview with Daniel Bryan on Talking Smack, and just had the best one of his career. He lost his Intercontinental Championship at No Mercy, but regained it on SmackDown a couple of weeks later. He had that match with Sami Zayn at Survivor Series for the Intercontinental Championship, and then he lost the Intercontinental Championship in January of 2017 to Dean Ambrose. Gone into a feud with John Cena going into WrestleMania. The Miz and Maurice faced Cena and his opponent in a mixed tag team match at WrestleMania where they lost, which was stupid. And then after the Superstar shakeup, The Miz was traded to Raw. And then he continued his feud with Dean Ambrose for the Intercontinental Championship. And at Extreme Rules, The Miz defeated Dean Ambrose to win the Intercontinental Championship. And now he's just formed his Miz Tawaz faction. And he's still feuding with Dean Ambrose. And now Seth Rollins has entered that feud. So that's that. As for Darren Young, he really didn't do too much. He pretty much just kind of went back to jobber status, and now he's injured. So Miz benefited from this The Miz benefited from this match. Darren Young did not. But yeah, this was a pretty lame match. Okay, so then we had the next match. It was the second and final six-man tag team match on this show. It was SmackDown John Cena, was Enzo Amore and was Big Cass versus SmackDown and was the Club. Obviously this was going to be the last time we were going to be able to see a match with both these competitors involved because John Cena had been drafted to SmackDown and Enzo Amore and Big Cass had been drafted to Raw, and you had the Club where AJ Styles was drafted to SmackDown and Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson were drafted to Raw. Before the match starts, however, um, Enzo Amore and Big Cass come out and do the normal stick where they say, "My name is Enzo Amore, and I am a certified G and a bona fide stud, and you can't teach that." And this right here, this is Big Cass, and he's 7 foot tall, and you can't teach that. Bada boom, realest guys in the room, how you doing? And then Enzo Amore talks about how in this winter the what was it called? Mount Rushmore's realest G's, and then Enzo Amore says that he's not stupid because I know there's only 3 people in this win, but John Cena makes it 4 people. And then he cuts a promo talking about how the club, are going to have to question all their life decisions after getting in the win with Big Cass, Enzo Amore, and John Cena, and talk about how tonight's going to be the club's last match together as a team. And they say that, that they talk about how the club's like a bunch of teenage girls and Scream sequels, that they don't know what they're getting into tonight. And they talk about how they should think about their life choices, and Enzo Amore goes through a bunch of life decisions. As Big Cass says, "How you doing?" Which I thought was awesome. Like he even says, "Eating yellow snow" was one of them. And then everybody starts chanting it for Enzo Amore, and Big Cass, like you gotta admit that was pretty good by Enzo. And Enzo Amore segues Big Cass by saying, "Big Cass, you got some stuff to say now." And then Big Cass says that um, that AJ Styles, since he's got his soccer mom hairstyle, he should pick up Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson and drop them off to SmackDown so that way they can whoop their ass, and then he should go to SmackDown, because after tonight there's only going to be one word to describe you, and I'm gonna spell it out for you. SAWFT, soft. I thought it was a fantastic promo. And the match starts. Enzo Amore and Carl Anderson start off the matchup, but then he tags in AJ Styles, and AJ Styles gets the best of Enzo Amore, so then Big Cass gets tagged in, and then Carl Anderson tags himself back in, and Big Cass beats up Carl Anderson. He beats him up in the corner, and he sends Enzo Amore. He's going to send him after him, but instead he sends him right into Luke Gallows, and then he sends him into Carl Anderson in the corner, and then Big Cass launches Enzo Amore over the top rope and takes out Gallows and Anderson, and then AJ Styles tries to charge at him, and he ends up getting thrown right into Gallows and Anderson, and then Enzo Amore becomes the legal man, and Carl Anderson takes a cheap shot at Enzo Amore, and pretty much the club gets the heat on Enzo Amore for a while. Luke Gallows hits a suplex into a slam, covers him. Enzo Amore kicks out, and the club really pick apart Enzo Amore for a while. Carl Anderson hits a high boot right in the corner. AJ Styles hits a ton of right hands on him, and he ends up tagging Carl Anderson at one point, and Enzo Amore hits a backdrop and sends Styles crashing on the floor. He hits a right hand on Enzo Amore. He hits a right hand on Carl Anderson, and Gallows goes to charge at him. He ends up hitting the post, and he tries to make the tag, but Anderson takes him out with a drop kick in mid-air, which I thought looked really sick. And then, Gallows and Anderson continue the domination. And then Enzo Amore hits a DDT onto Luke Gallows. And then John Cena gets the hot tag on AJ Styles. He hits his 5 moves of doom on Styles. He goes for the AA. Styles counters into the Pele kick. And then he goes for the He takes a cheap shot at Enzo Amore. He goes for the Styles Clash, but then Enzo Amore hits a DDT on Styles. Carl Anderson hits a spine buster on Enzo Amore. Big Cass hits hits a fallaway swim on Enzo Amore, and Luke Gallows hits a sit-out power bomb onto Big Cass, and then Cena takes out Luke Gallows, and then Cena hits the no, actually, no, it's not what happens. Enzo Amore goes to dive on Gallows, but he accidentally hits Cena. Cena catches him. He tries to use Enzo Amore as a battering ram, but Gallows just slams him. And then AJ Styles goes for the phenomenal forearm. Styles accidentally hits Luke Gallows. Cena hits the AA, goes to make the cover. Carl Anderson pulls him out of the win and hits the spine buster right onto the German announcers table, and Cena's laid out, and then Enzo Amore goes to dives off the steps onto Carl Anderson, and then Cena's laid out for a while. He's about to be counted out, but he just barely beats it the 10 count, and then AJ Styles hits the Styles Clash on Cena, covers him. Big Cass pulls out AJ Styles and hits the big boot on him, and then Luke Gallows throws Big Cass into the steps, and Gallows attacks Big Cass. He goes to but Big Cass fights him off. He goes for the East River crossing, but Carl Anderson hits him in the spine, and then Gallows and Anderson hit the Magic Killer on Big Cass, and then Enzo Amore comes in and has a face off with him. Gallows and Anderson are gonna attack him 2-on-1. Carl Anderson goes to charge at Enzo Amore. He gets thrown into the post, and then Gallows hits a super kick on Enzo Amore. And then he goes to take out Cena, hit a quarter splash on Cena. Cena moves out of the way, and then Styles is up on the top rope. Cena bounces off the ropes and crotches Styles on the ropes. Clothesline Luke Gallows outside the ring, and then he goes for the AA on Styles off the turnbuckles, but AJ Styles is fighting out of it, but it's just not enough. Cena hits the AA off the turnbuckles anyways, covers Styles and gets the win, and John Cena, Enzo Amore, and Big Cass go over in the match. Fine with that. I think it made sense to put them over. AJ Styles, you had him beat him at Money in the Bank. This was a way for AJ Styles to lose where it wouldn't have made him look too bad since it was a 6-man tag instead of a 1-on-1 match, so I was fine with that. And, the club, like I said, wasn't going to be much together that much anyways. And you had the club, they kept constantly getting the advantage on Cena. You had to have Cena get a 1-up on the club, so I thought that made sense. And, the aftermath is John Cena and AJ Styles would have a rematch at SummerSlam, and a really amazing match with AJ Styles would pin John Cena clean right in the middle of the win. And that really put over AJ Styles. The WWE really started to take AJ Styles seriously afterwards. At Backlash, he ended up beating Dean Ambrose for the WWE Championship. He held on to that WWE Championship for a while. It'll lead to a triple threat match at No Mercy with Cena, Styles, and Ambrose, because Cena pretty much was a part-timer. He would come and go as he pleased, and that was the case there. Styles would retain his championship, and then AJ Styles and Dean Ambrose would participate in a Raw vs. SmackDown Survivor Series match that involved Shane McMahon, Randy Orton, and Bray Wyatt, and I'm missing a third, missing a superstar, I think, but I don't remember who else was in it. AJ Styles would get eliminated because of a Shield reunion, and then AJ Styles and Dean Ambrose would have a really good TLC match, a TLC for the WWE Championship, and AJ Styles would retain the championship. The WWE Championship became known as the WWE World Championship, and then was reverted back to the WWE Championship. I probably didn't need to mention that, but it was. And then John Cena would return. John Cena would defeat AJ Styles to win the WWE Championship at the Royal Rumble and tie the record for most World Championships. And then Cena and Styles fought in the Elimination Chamber that was won by Bray Wyatt. AJ Styles would go on to face Shane McMahon at WrestleMania, where AJ Styles would win, and John Cena would have that mixed tag match I talked about. And then AJ Styles went on to feud with Kevin Owens for the United States Championship. He would end up taking the United States Championship from Kevin Owens at that live show in Madison Square Garden. And you have John Cena, who just was brought back into the fold, and he's currently feuding with Rusev in a flag match, which I've already talked about. And then as for Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, like I mentioned, they ended up feuding with the New Day for the WWE Tag Team titles. They didn't win them, as I mentioned, and they didn't really do too much with Gallows and Anderson. They ended up defeating Cesaro and Sheamus for the WWE Raw Tag Team Championships at the Royal Rumble and the kickoff show. Um, and then they ended up losing the WWE Raw Tag Team. Enzo, and then Gallows and Anderson would face Enzo Amore and Big Cass for the WWE Raw Tag Team titles. At Fastlane, they would retain, and then Cesaro, Sheamus, Enzo Amore and Big Cass, and Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson would compete in a triple threat match for the triple threat ladder match at WrestleMania 33 for the titles. Neither of the teams would win. Then Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson would have the rematch for the Raw Tag Team titles on the Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania. They would lose their rematch, and they pretty much have done nothing with them since then. And then now you have Enzo Amore and Big Cass. They would go on, like I said, to feud with Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens going into SummerSlam where they would win. Big Cass would become part of a Fatal 4-Way match along with Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns to crown a new WWE Universal Championship on an episode of Monday Night Raw. And then, Enzo Amore and Big Cass would continue teaming together. They would rekindle this feud. They would get Enzo Amore and Big Cass and Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson would have a match at Hell in a Cell where Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson would win. Then Luke Gallows, Carl Anderson, Enzo Amore, and Big Cass, the New Day, all teamed up together to face Team SmackDown teams, which I included the Usos, the Hype Bros, and some other tag teams. That teams the team would win. When Cesaro and Sheamus would be the sole survivors. Enzo Amore and Big Cass would get into that feud with Rusev that I've already talked about, and then have that match for the Raw Tag Team titles, and then have the match at WrestleMania, and then Enzo Amore and Big Cass and Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson would have a match with each other on the Payback Kickoff show where Enzo Amore and Big Cass would win, and then it had finally been rumored that somebody had been attacking Enzo Amore and Big Cass. Enzo Amore and Big Cass would be found laid out. There was a bunch of speculation about who had attacked him, but then we would find out that Big Cass had attacked Enzo Amore, and Big Cass would finally turn his back on Enzo Amore. The team would break up. So that's why it kind of makes me a little bit sad to watch them together here. Big Cass laid out Enzo Amore with a big boot. This would lead to a match at WWE Great Balls of Fire where Big Cass would destroy Enzo Amore, and they're still kind of in a feud together right now. So overall, I would say John Cena. This match really didn't benefit or hurt John Cena. This match, I would say, definitely benefited AJ Styles. That whole feud with Cena didn't really benefit Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, and sort of benefited Enzo Amore and Big Cass. But it definitely benefited AJ Styles, which is the superstar that really needed to benefit from this match, which was really good. But overall, I thought this was a really good, fun 6-man tag. It definitely picks up towards the end. In the beginning, it's just a standard 6-man tag team match, but then it definitely picks up towards the end. So I think this is a really good 6-man tag team match. Okay, so next was the highlight reel hosted by Raw's Chris Jericho with his guest SmackDown's Randy Orton. Chris Jericho comes out and talks about how this is the most anticipated highlight reel to date. It's going to be the return of Randy Orton, who's been gone for 9 months. So then Randy Orton comes out, and you could definitely feel like the Randy Orton actually gave a crap. I think you could definitely tell that he missed being gone because since he had been gone for 9 months, I think at the time WWE had missed Randy Orton, the fans, and I myself had missed Randy Orton. I think even though I have talked about before how boring Randy Orton can be when he was gone all that time, his presence definitely was missed within the WWE. And Chris Jericho talks about how Randy Orton is back, and you get to share the win with Chris Jericho. And Randy Orton says, I mean, luckily for you, I'm in such a good mood because luckily for me, I don't even mind that I have to share the win with you. And Jericho says that he should be privileged that he's sharing the win with him, and how Randy Orton has been gone for 9 months, so he kind of fills him in with what's going on. He fills him in on the brand split. He talks about how at Extreme Rules during the Asylum match, Dean Ambrose, who's the WWE champion, is a lunatic, and he's like 16 tacks that he had to pick out of him. And I always love when he brings it up because he just plays it off so well. He, then talks about other things, and then Randy Orton talks about this promo continues. She talks. Jericho asks about facing Brock. Randy Orton asks why he would. No, Jericho asked Randy Orton why he would choose to get in the ring with Brock Lesnar his first moment back, and Randy Orton says that he wanted to make an impact. He wanted to make a statement and get in the ring with with the most badass dude and defeating the most badass dude, Brock Lesnar, is definitely a way to do so. Unlike because what am I going to do? Come back and wrestle Fandango? Which kind of made me feel bad for Fandango because that's what Jericho did at WrestleMania 29. He came back and wrestled Fandango and actually lost to Fandango. And obviously Jericho accepted that whip, which does make me kind of feel bad for Fandango because Fandango is a talent. And then, Chris Jericho shows a little video package about Brock Lesnar's dominance, and he asks, "What are you going to do when you have to go to Suplex City like that?" And then Randy Orton says that it takes 20 suplexes to finally get to Suplex City. Well, it only takes one RKO to get to Viperville. And then even he even talked about the RKO out of nowhere stuff. Jericho even then started to butter up Randy Orton, saying that Brock Lesnar said that Randy Orton's been afraid of him since he was avoiding him for 15 years when they were in the WWE together, even though Brock Lesnar had left in 2004 and didn't come back until 2012, and then that's kind of when Randy Orton was hurt and stuff. And obviously too, you have when they were both when they were both in the company, Brock Lesnar was on SmackDown, Randy Orton was on Raw, but I digress. And then he says that Brock Lesnar says that he's going to destroy Randy Orton and rip his arm off and eat it. And then he even says that Brock Lesnar said that Randy Orton was a stupid idiot. And then Jericho keeps expecting that the RKO is coming. And then Randy Orton acts like he's going to RKO him. Jericho knows it's coming. And then Randy Orton laughs at him. And then Randy Orton lays out Jericho with the RKO anyways. And then that was it. I thought this was a good segment here. I thought Randy Orton was really good out there. You could definitely tell that he gave a crap because he hadn't been in the company for so long. I thought Jericho obviously was fantastic. And this segment I just thought really worked. It was a nice way to incorporate Randy Orton back and build to the SummerSlam match. And obviously the aftermath came. I've kind of already mentioned what happened with Chris Jericho. So I'm not really going to mention it too much. Obviously, like I said, the SummerSlam match with Enzo and Cass, the stuff with Kevin Owens, the feud, the friendship, I've already mentioned it. Randy Orton, same thing. I've already kind of mentioned it. He would go on to get destroyed. I didn't mention though what happened to him. He would go on to get destroyed by Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam. Brock Lesnar would victimize Randy Orton, and then Randy Orton went into that feud with Bray Wyatt that I've already kind of covered. Where we lost him at No Mercy, joined the faction, won the Rumble. Wyatt won the title. Won the title at WrestleMania. Lost the House of Horrors match at Payback. Then Randy Orton will lose his WWE Championship at Backlash, and he has a chance to regain it back this Sunday. So we're gonna tomorrow night. But probably by the time this video gets uploaded, it will be tonight because this video will be uploaded on Sunday. So that's pretty much everything that's going on with World Superstars. But like I said, I've already mentioned it, so I'm not really going to go into too much detail about it. But overall, I thought this was a good segment here. Okay, so then we had the main event. It was a triple threat match for the WWE Championship. WWE Champion SmackDown's Dean Ambrose versus Raw's Seth Rollins versus Raw's Roman Reigns. And, both superstars from both brands were watching, which I did like it because it made the match feel important. Raw's general manager Mick Foley and Raw's commissioner Stephanie McMahon came out to watch. And then SmackDown's SmackDown's commissioner Shane McMahon and SmackDown's general manager Daniel Bryan came out to watch this match because this was an important match for them because this was to determine the fate where the WWE Championship was going to go. So I like that they made this match really feel important. And the match I thought was fantastic as well. Um, you know, Seth Rollins, the match starts. Seth Rollins tries to put his fist in, like the Shield used to do, but Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns aren't having that. Roman Reigns attacks Seth Rollins. He throws him out of the ring. He goes to attack him, but then Dean Ambrose clothesline, and then he throws him in the ring. Dean Ambrose attacks him. Roman Reigns clotheslines Seth Rollins out of the ring. Dean Ambrose tries to steal the victory on Roman Reigns by hitting a roll up on him, but then Roman Reigns kicks out. Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose go at it for a bit, but then Seth Rollins ambushes Dean Ambrose from ambushes Roman Reigns from behind. Well, no, actually no, it was Dean Ambrose. And then Dean Ambrose fights him off, clotheslines Seth Rollins out of the ring. Roman Reigns tries to roll up Dean Ambrose. Dean Ambrose kicks out, and then they start chain wrestling each other for a while. Roman Reigns takes it to Dean Ambrose. Dean Ambrose starts to fight back. Um, he goes for his flying crossbody, but Roman Reigns is just too powerful to take down. And Roman Reigns takes it to Dean Ambrose. Seth Rollins attacks Roman Reigns from behind, and Roman Reigns then fights back. He picks up Seth Rollins to hit the Samoan drop on him, but then Dean Ambrose hits a drop kick, which causes Reigns to drop Rollins. He covers Reigns. Reigns kicks out, and then Roman Reigns hits a clothesline on Dean Ambrose, and the match breaks down into chaos. Seth Rollins attacks Roman Reigns. He hits no Dean Ambrose. He hits a super kick on him, and then he hits a slim blade on Roman Reigns, and then he dominates Dean Ambrose for a while. He picks him apart. He hits a splash in the corner. Then he tries to go after Dean Ambrose, tries to run across the ring and hit a forearm, but Rollins plants him face first into the turnbuckle. And then Roman Reigns attacks Seth Rollins. He throws him on the outside into the barricade, and they start fighting on the outside. And then Dean Ambrose hits a elbow off the second turnbuckle onto you know um, Roman Reigns, and then Seth Rollins hits a knee from the apron, and he throws onto Reigns. He throws Ambrose into the steel steps, where he throws Reigns into the barricade. Then he goes to charge at Reigns. Reigns dumps Rollins over the timekeeper's area, and Reigns and Rollins fight in the timekeeper's area. And Dean Ambrose goes across the announcers' tables and takes out Roman Reigns in the timekeeper's area. He throws Reigns in the ring. He hits a missile drop kick on Reigns, covers him. Reigns kicks out, and then Seth Rollins um, hits a kick onto Dean Ambrose, and there was one point where all the wrestlers are down. All of them get up and they start trading shots at each other. And actually, that's not what happens. Roman Reigns hits a Superman punch on everybody. He goes for a spear. They see it coming, and then Seth Rollins hits a Enziguri on Ambrose. Um, and then there was the spot where that spot happens where they all trade shots with each other, and then they all beat up Roman Reigns. Then they go for the double power bomb like the Shield used to do, but Roman Reigns fights out of it at first. But Rollins and Ambrose beat down Reigns, which is something that you don't very normally see Rollins and Ambrose working together. So I did like that. And then they hit Ambrose hit the suicide dive through the ropes on Roman Reigns, and then Rollins hits a flip dive on the outside, and then they hit the double power bomb through the announcer's table, through the Spanish announcer's table, like the Shield used to do uh, on Reigns. And then this takes a lot out of Dean Ambrose, but Rollins grabs a steel chair and hits Dean Ambrose right in the back with the chair, just like when Seth Rollins turned his back on the Shield. And then he hits Reigns in the back with the chair, and then he goes for the pedigree on Ambrose. Ambrose counters it. He hits a forearm smash and then a bulldog in the corner, and covers him. Rollins kicks out. Rollins hits a suplex into the Falcon Arrow, covers him. Ambrose kicks out. Roman Reigns then gets back in the ring. He hits a Samoan drop. And then the Superman punch on everybody. Rollins goes to go off the top. He gets caught in the Superman punch. And then Dean Ambrose goes for the dirty deeds on Reigns. Reigns counters it, goes for the spear. Ambrose jumps over him. And then Rollins hits the buckle bomb into the turnbuckle. And then Reigns bounces immediately off and hits the Superman punch, which I always hate that spot when Reigns no-sells it because it's supposed to be like a devastated move and Reigns just no-sells it. I don't like that spot. And then he hits the spear on Seth Rollins. And then Ambrose gets in the ring, hits the dirty deeds on Reigns, covers him and gets the victory, which means that the WWE title was going to be going to SmackDown. Monday Night Raw was left without a world championship. And you could see what was funny was Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon were celebrating like little children, and Mick Foley and Stephanie McMahon were just left distraught. And afterwards, the SmackDown locker room comes out and, stands tall and congratulates Dean Ambrose. And I thought it was really good. The Usos hold up Dean Ambrose over their shoulders. And what I was surprised about was that Roman Reigns was the one that ate the pinfall. You would have thought that Seth Rollins would have been the one that ate the pinfall, but they had Roman Reigns do it. It did kind of show that the title meant more than Reigns and Ambrose's friendship, since they were like best friends. And I guess they wanted to teach Roman Reigns a lesson because of his suspension. So I guess whatever. The aftermath of this came is since Raw was left without a world championship. They announced that Raw was going to be put in a new title, which was going to be the WWE Universal Championship. And Seth Rollins, since he was the number one draft pick, automatically got to fight for that championship, which he ended up failing to win. And then because the champion that he lost to got injured, Rollins was placed in a fatal four-way elimination match that also involved Roman Reigns, where Triple H ended up coming out and turning his back on Seth Rollins, turning Rollins face in the process, which he should have already turned face. The fact that he didn't come back as a face was stupid. And then, Seth Rollins had that program with Kevin Owens for the title that I've already mentioned. And then Seth Rollins wanted to get his hands on Triple H. And then Triple H cost Seth Rollins a chance to compete in the Royal Rumble match in a match with Sami Zayn. And then Seth Rollins invaded NXT TakeOver San Antonio to go take out Triple H, but Triple H called security, and then Seth Rollins ended up getting hurt, and then it was undecided whether Seth Rollins was going to be able to compete at WrestleMania, but then he fought through the injury anyways, and Seth Rollins ended up defeating Triple H at WrestleMania, and then really nothing really came of it. He had that pretty lame feud with Bray Wyatt, and yeah, that was pretty lame. And then Roman Reigns went on to have that feud with Rusev, like I mentioned, for the United States Championship. And then he had that feud with Kevin Owens, like I talked about, for the title, for the WWE Universal Championship. Lost his U.S. title to Chris Jericho, and then had that match. And then ended up wrestling at WrestleMania. I already mentioned it. He had that feud with Braun Strowman. He's had that feud with Braun Strowman. I've already mentioned that. And then Dean Ambrose went on to take the title to SmackDown. I kind of mentioned it. He lost the WWE Championship to AJ Styles at Backlash, and then they feuded for a while for the title. We did get one more Shield reunion, like I mentioned, when they triple powerbomb AJ Styles at Survivor Series, and then Dean Ambrose then went on to lose his feud with Styles in the TLC match. He ended up getting into a feud with The Miz for the Intercontinental Championship, beat The Miz for the Intercontinental Championship, and then obviously Dean Ambrose ended up losing the title, getting traded to Raw after the Superstar Shakeup. He lost his Intercontinental Championship to The Miz at Extreme Rules, and then lost his rematch at Great Balls of Fire. And now it looks like they're teasing a Shield reunion because Miz Taraj has been going after Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose. They're telling a story there, and it looks like that they're going to do a Shield reunion and have them take out the Miz Taraj, which I've talked about before. I don't think it's necessary to do the Shield reunion because now you have the different case where Roman Reigns is just universally hated. And since then, Dean Ambrose has just become lazy and complacent, and no one really cares about Dean Ambrose anymore. Seth Rollins has just been a really lame babyface. So yeah, as nice as it would be, it's just not the right time and the right place for a Shield reunion because of the current status of where all the competitors are at. So we're gonna have to wait and see. Maybe tease it, but then have maybe Dean Ambrose turn heel because Dean Ambrose needs to turn heel. And obviously the aftermath. I didn't mention Stephanie McMahon. Got into that feud with Seth Rollins, and she ended up being put to the table at WrestleMania. We haven't seen Stephanie McMahon since then. And then Shane McMahon, kind of already mentioned it, continued to be the commissioner of SmackDown. Had that match with AJ Styles at WrestleMania, and then he's still the commissioner of SmackDown. Already kind of mentioned that. So everybody pretty much benefited from this match. The fact that the Shield got to main event the pay per view was awesome. This just showed how much of great faction that the Shield was. So overall, I thought this was a really good main event. I especially thought that everything was incorporated very well in this match, and I really enjoyed it. Okay, so now let me give you guys my star ratings for each match and then my overall thoughts on the show. For the pre-show match, I'm probably going to give that match 3 stars. I thought that was a good, fun match right there. For the tag team match, I'm also going to give that match 3 stars, mainly for Bailey's debut, but I thought the match was actually pretty good itself. For the um, Wyatt Family New Day match, I'll probably give that match 2 and 3/4 stars. I thought that was a pretty decent match right there. For the United States Championship match, I'll give that match 2.5 stars. I thought that was a fairly solid match. Um, and, I obviously like the way they made Zack Ryder look and Rusev look, so that was cool. Um, for the singles match, I'm going to give that match probably 4.5 stars. I thought that was a fantastic match, just had great storytelling in it, and the right person went over. For the women's match, probably also going to give that match 3 stars. I thought that was a good women's match. For the Intercontinental Championship match, going to give that match probably 1.5 stars. It's not a very good match, and the finish really hurts the match too. So 1.5 stars. Um, for the John Cena, Enzo Amore, and Big Cass versus the Club match, I'll probably give that match. I thought that was a really good tag team match. I'll probably give that match 3.5 stars. I thought it was just a lot of fun, and I thought the white team went over in the end. And then for the WWE Championship match, I thought that was a fantastic match. I'm going to give that match 4.5 stars. It was the that triple threat match with the Shield lived up to great expectations, and I thought they incorporated a lot of great stuff in that match. So I'm going to give that match 4 stars. And if you want to see my star ratings, I will post them down in the description box down below. And yeah, that's pretty much it, guys, for this video. My overall thoughts on the show, though, is I thought this was actually a pretty good show. Pretty good show here. Had some good matches. I liked some of the backstage segments, like the one with Daniel Bryan. Dean Ambrose and Shane McMahon, the one with Seth Rollins, Mick Foley, and Stephanie McMahon. I thought they had a pretty good pre-show, and I thought they had some good matches. Not really any bad matches, and the white people went over in the right way. So if I had to rate this show, I'll probably rate this show probably maybe a 9 out of 10 because it's the only thing that really hurts the show is that awful Intercontinental Championship match, and yeah, that's just really the only thing that hurts. So it's definitely a 9 out of 10. I think this is actually a really good show. That's just my opinion. It just has some good matches and white people going over. So I'm probably overrating the show, but I personally do think it's a 9 out of 10. Has some really good stuff on it, and yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you guys for watching this video. Please make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel, and make sure you click on that bell so that way every time I upload a video on this channel, you'll get the notification for it. Please make sure you also subscribe to my CM Brothers and No on the Talkinator YouTube channels, and you click on the bell on those channels as well, so that way every time I upload a video on those channels, you'll get the notification for it. And that's pretty much it, guys. Talk to you later.